All right, so here we have a new formatting for our audio recordings. So hopefully you'll get used to this one. But now we're going to go ahead and get started with chapter number 21. We are finally reaching the modern era, which is Unit 5, which goes from the year 1750 all the way to 1900. And we're going to start off with a gigantic chapter. We're going to look at three major things: the Enlightenment, the four Atlantic revolutions, and the rise and spread of nationalism. So let's start off first with the Enlightenment. And here we see a picture. Look at the symbolism of these images, right? Where we see all this light coming in, right? That's what the Enlightenment's all about, right? Bringing light and truth to a scary, dark political world. So the Enlightenment changes our understanding of humanity. So remember, the Enlightenment starts a little bit after the Scientific Revolution and after the Protestant Reformation. So this in Europe, these ideas in Europe have been brewing for a while. And just like the Reformation and the Scientific Revolution questioned religious authority of the church, the Enlightenment is going to question the political authority of monarchies, right? Which of course is the dominant political system in Europe, right? Especially absolute monarchies. So it starts in the early 1700s, and by the late 1700s, in other words, by the beginning of Unit 5, we see the increased popularity of Enlightenment take hold, right? And this idea of making things better, right? The society and the environment and the economy and the political structures can all become better if you think about it, if you examine it, and if you work at it. So there's a lot of philosophers during this time that come up with these major ideas, Enlightenment ideas that really didn't exist prior to this time, right? So, for example, the first guy on the left, we see his name is John Locke, and he comes up with this crazy idea that there is a social contract, that there is a deal that is made between the people of a country and the government of a country, and that the people give up some of their freedoms and rights and give that power and authority to the state, and that the state's job is to protect those rights and protect the rights of the people, right? So that's the social contract. And of course, if the government sucks at this job, then the people have the right to overthrow it and create a new government, something that makes better sense to them. We also have another guy called Adam Smith. He's an economist. And he comes up with this idea of capitalism, right? That people are motivated to earn a profit, and that making money is the greatest thing ever, and therefore the government should not get involved in businesses. And this is something that is known as laissez-faire, which literally means hands off in French. And Adam Smith says that, that the laws of supply and demand will keep a market kind of like controlling the prices, and therefore if the government gets involved, then people are going, not as much money could be made. So this is going to be a main idea, especially into the Industrial Revolution, where the government isn't going to play an active role in regulating or intervening or getting involved in businesses. There's also another guy whose name was Rousseau, a French thinker. Rousseau says, hey, everyone should get educated. Not just the rich, not just the clergy, not just the upper class, but everyone. And that's a big idea. That's a crazy idea. We have Voltaire. Right, Voltaire was another French guy. He says that people should have the right to speak their minds and not get punished, right? And when he criticized the king in France and he criticized the Catholic Church in France, he got exiled. He was forced to leave his homeland and run to England. So he's a big believer of freedom of speech and freedom of religion. There's another guy, however, at the end, we have Montesquieu. Montesquieu says that the best government is a government that has separation of powers, meaning you break up the power of the government into three branches. Sound familiar? Right? Executive, legislative, judicial, right? He says by breaking up the power of the government, the power of the state, then you will not have one person or one group controlling everything. Therefore, you will save yourself from tyranny, from a dictatorship, from an absolute ruler. Now, where are these ideas coming from? Well, they're being talked about, right? People are sitting down and talking and reading and writing about it, right? They're publish books and magazines, right? And of course, all of this is, printing press, technology. But they're going to sit around in saloons, right? Not salons, like, you get your hair done at a salon, but saloons and coffee houses. And these people are going to be drinking up coffee, which is, of course, is an American crop, and, part of that, Atlantic slave trade and triangle trade stuff. And they're going to be sitting there drinking their coffee, right? Smoking their tobacco, and talking about how can we make things better. And this guy has a great idea, and that guy has a great idea, right? And they're going to be hyped up with, caffeine and nicotine and sugar, right? And in fact, these ideas are so powerful that eventually the Ottoman Empire says, no more coffee houses, right? Because those ideas are dangerous to an absolute monarchy, which, of course, the Ottoman Empire had. Now, these guys, they're not going to be 100% non-religious. They're going to be religious, but they're not going to follow, the strict understanding of religion, like, say the Catholics and other Protestants will. In fact, they're going to have these Enlightenment thinkers are going to have something called Deism. And that is this idea that God is like a watchmaker, right? That's like the metaphor that they use. And creating a watch is a complicated thing. It has all these gears that move, right? And it takes an intelligent person to create these things. But once it's set, right, once you design it, you operate it, once you turn it on, that clock, that watch just moves on its own, right? You don't need to be involved. You don't need to be pressing buttons or anything like that. And that's how they viewed God, right? God and humans. And they said that God created everything, but he doesn't get involved. He doesn't answer prayers. He doesn't grant wishes. He's just kind of like observing, right? Like a watchmaker would observe his masterpiece. So even though a lot of these Enlightenment thinkers are deists and therefore kind of reduce the importance of religion, Christianity is still, of course, the dominant religion in this time. All right, two major groups of thinkers arise during this time, the conservatives and the liberals. So what is the difference here? Right? Well, it's all about ideals, all about goals and hopes and dreams. So the liberal goal, the goal for the liberals in this time is to change society, is to apply those theories, those Enlightenment theories, and turn them into reality with government, right? Change the government. So who are the Enlightenment? They're middle class, they're educated, right? These are the Enlightenment liberals. The conservatives, right? They hear about all this Enlightenment stuff, and they kind of like it, but they don't want to, change everything. Just keep things more or less the same. So, of course, who are going to be the conservatives? The upper class, right? Because if you have everything good, why do you want to change it, right? So liberal Enlightenment thinkers are going to be more middle-class people, right? They have something to gain by changing things up. The conservative side, they say they don't want to change things, rather keep things the same because it's just kind of good for them. Then there's going to be kind of like this weird mix, which are something called the Enlightened despots. And these guys are going to be politically conservative, meaning they don't want to change anything in the government, especially when it threatens their power. But they have some ideas that they're more liberal about, and therefore they want to change. So, for example, Napoleon Bonaparte, which we'll talk about soon, Catherine the Great of Russia, these are all Enlightened despots, right? They don't want to lose any power because these guys are absolute rulers. But they want to give education. They want to give freedom of religion. They want to give other things, to that, to the people, to make the people happy. Right. So those are the Enlightened despots. So by the late 1700s and throughout the 1800s, we're going to see a whole bunch of revolutions. People are going to demand these changes, and they're going to rise up against the government to try to make these changes come true. Right. So the conservatives are going to try to stop the revolutions from occurring, and the liberals are going to try to want the revolution to occur. So what are the goals? Well, there's different goals, right? Depending on which country we're looking at, which revolution we're looking at. So some revolutions, their goal is independence, right? They are a colony. They belong to a mother country, and they want to be independent, and they want to be left alone, and they want to be their own boss, right? So independence is one. Others want a new government. They want to change their government. They want to have a constitutional government. They want to have a republic of some sort, right? So the French one is the, the constitutional government type of revolution. The revolutions in the United States, the revolution in Haiti, the revolution in Latin America, those are going to be more for anti-imperial and independent stuff. All right, so I'm going to stop here for our very first video lecture. Hope you enjoy it. Let's keep going.